Thousands of anti-racism protesters take to streets to counter far-right rallies in cities across the UK. Government 6,000 specialist police officers deployed to deal with further violence as over 100 events anticipated. In Bangladesh, the interim government headed by Mohammad Yunus to take oath today. India's border security force reviews security situation and operational preparedness along the Bangladesh border. American singer Taylor Swift's concert in Vienna cancelled due to terror alert. Austria says a tragedy was prevented. 2 people suspected of plotting attacks on concert detained. India's Vinesh announces retirement from wrestling a day after she was disqualified for being overweight at the Paris Olympics. Well, on to the details now. Thousands of counter-demonstrators have taken to the streets in the UK after over a week of violent disorder. There had been fears of major outbreaks of violence at dozens of locations. Thousands of police were on duty in the expectation of around 100 far-right gatherings. DD India's Ollie Barrett reports for more from London.
In many British towns and cities, there seem to be many more counter-demonstrators on the street than some of those members of the far right that had been expected by officials. Officials had been suggesting there could be as many as 100 far-right gatherings up and down the country, targeting potentially some sites that were listed on the internet, such as immigration and asylum-linked charities and organisations and legal services that were offered to people seeking asylum. In the event, it did seem that there were many more counter-demonstrators out who were saying that they were there to show that they are anti-racist and anti-fascist, and many of them held signs saying things like refugees are welcome. Before the expected protests and gatherings, the Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner had warned against further violence, and she had said that if anyone was taking part in disorder, they should expect the full force of the law to be directed against them. The government will hope that some of the custodial sentences that have been handed out in the last 24 hours, including a 3-year prison sentence for one man convicted of attacking a police officer during disorder, the government will hope that that is now starting to act as a deterrent, but they will also remain on high alert in the days ahead. Ollie Barrett in London reporting for DD India.
Well, in Bangladesh, the interim government headed by Nobel laureate Professor Mohammad Yunus will take oath on Thursday. The Nobel Peace Laureate boarded a flight from Paris on Wednesday to return home. Yunus' return comes as he's set to take on a significant role as head of the interim government following a meeting with President Mohammad Shahabuddin. 84-year-old Yunus was picked by President Mohammad Shahabuddin to lead the new interim government, a key demand of student demonstrators. Earlier, Bangladesh's military chief, General Wakir-uz-Zaman, in a televised address, has confirmed that Mohammad Yunus will take oath at a ceremony on Thursday night. He said the size of the government has not been finalized yet. Initially, some 15 individuals may take oath as the advisors of the interim government. However, 1 or 2 more individuals may be added. General Wakir hoped that the situation in Bangladesh will be normal within 3-4 days. He said those who were involved in the crimes committed over the past few days will not spare and legal action would be taken against them. And India is keeping a close watch on Bangladesh's situation. Director General of Border Security Force Daljit Singh Chaudhary on Wednesday reviewed the security and operational preparedness of the paramilitary force along the Bangladesh border in Agartala. Director General of Tripura Police and DJ Intelligence also attended the review meeting. Tripura shares an 856-kilometer-long border with Bangladesh. BSF DG applauded the tireless efforts of the state forces in safeguarding the border by preventing any kind of infiltration aviation and trans-border crimes. Meanwhile, on the intervening night of 6th and 7th August, the BSF, in a joint operation with Tripura police, apprehended 11 Bangladeshi nationals who had crossed over to the Indian side illegally. And for more, we have Naval Singh Parmar joining us. Well, Naval Singh, after lumbering through chaos, interim government takes over today in Bangladesh. Yunus, known as banker of the poor, calls for end to violence and sounds very optimistic. What is the situation right now?
Yes, people are eagerly waiting to have an interim government so the situation become normal. The life on roads and streets seems the near normal and under control. But during the night time, there are many incidents being reported that the vandalism and the loot and the theft are occurring, and the individual gang is targeting the individual persons or individual family. This kind of reports are coming from the media source, and the common people are expecting that the soon interim government will be formed, and after that the situation will become normal. One notable thing is that the police and other agencies who were involved in controlling the protest during the first phase in the mid of July, that agency, excluding army, are not much seen on the streets and road of the Bangladesh. So they were the agencies who are responsible to maintain law and order situation in the country. But police force is morale is very low, and people are not coming for the duty because they fears that the people may take revenge or they may be targeted. So, and yesterday, new regime have also reconstituted the top level of police force, and think times will take to make systems in order in police department particularly. Police is a very essential component of the law enforcement or civil society, and if the police is not available to protect or to perform their duty, then it is difficult to maintain law and order situation. However, army is doing their best. They issued a press release yesterday, and they issued the helpline number regarding any threat or violence or any targeted violence. But the army are busy in many other things also. So, and the army have its own limitation because they are not the domestic law and order maintaining agency. Police is the on the cutting edge. Yes.
Also, Naval Singh, over 200 prisoners have escaped Bangladesh's central jail amid this political turmoil. And though you said that the army has taken over and is taking control, the army chief himself acknowledged looting and anarchy after Hasina's ouster, citing the police forces as totally dysfunctional, which you were also mentioning. Do you see some kind of normalcy limping back in the country?
Actually, this is the third incident of breaking of prisoners. Earlier, in the mid of July, on 19th July, there were a nursing day jailbreak. In that, around 900 criminals left the find a freedom in the blessing in disguise for them. Second thing, that there were another jailbreak before three days. In the North Bangladesh, in Sherpur, Jamalpur area, and yesterday there were a third one. So around 600, 900 and 200, we can say that it is around 1700 criminals are now on streets and roads of Bangladesh. So they are also doing some miscreants or some kind of violence or loot targeted vindictive killings, that kind of thing. So people are worried about this kind of elements of the society. Those should be in the behind the bar. Now they are roaming freely after the jailbreak. So this control can be done by the police force only, and police is not in a position to join duty in a local level, because many
Right.
police stations also have been attacked by the protester. In part one, the people says that the police involvement was very much against the movement, and police they have some kind of we can say revenge kind of things against the police. So
Yes.
police also have a fear, and that is the main reason why
Also,
the situation taking time to become a normal.
Also, Naval Singh, Yunus, if you talk about Mohammed Yunus, he sees many opportunities to heal rifts with India. What are the implications for India?
Uh, Actually, Bangladesh politics is known for the bipartisan system. There are two sets of political party led by Awami League and the BNP, and they have their own allies. Awami League was having around 13 allies, and at the same time, BNP is also having some allies. That party are like-minded. So both the party they can't digest the third front kind of thing, and both lost their ground. Awami League lost their ground due to the anti-incumbency, and the BNP and other affiliated parties. This was an opposition. People are thinking that they were having a chance to take up the issues of common people they were facing during the last few years. But the BNP always looking up to the power. They were not taking the issues, or they are not looking to the issues of the common people. So both are having their popularity at the lowest level, and the student-led protest create a hope for the common people,
Right.
and common people following the calls of the student leader.
Right.
And these students are all are almost the 23, 24 year or 17, 18,
Yes.
19, 17 to 23 years old student
All
gave
young
they were
students there.
leading, they are leading the movement. And after 16th of July, there were many violence, and in which many students
All
lost their
right.
life. After that, they got the support from the all walk of life, common people, celebrities, and the intellectual come forward to support them. They
All
were
right.
not saying who will come in power and who will not, but they were very sure that it is too much, and we want someone
Some change.
who can speak for them.
Yes.
Opposition, they were not expecting anything from opposition. Uh,
All right, Naval Singh. Thank you so much for all that update from there. And moving on, the government of Nepal is also closely following the political developments in Bangladesh. In a statement, Ministry of Foreign Affairs said, "We are deeply concerned about the loss of lives and properties during the protest over the last few weeks in Bangladesh. We convey our sincere condolences and sympathies to the families of those who lost their lives and wish all those injured a speedy and full recovery. We call for calm and restraint by all and stress the importance of orderly return to the democratic process. We are confident that the strong and resilient people of Bangladesh will be able to ensure a smooth transition towards peace and stability." Well, moving on, American singer and songwriter Taylor Swift's 3 concerts in Vienna this week were cancelled after the government confirmed a planned terror attack at the stadium. Austrian police on Wednesday detained 2 people suspected of plotting attacks on the concert. Austria's Chancellor Karl Nehammer said a tragedy was prevented. Well, 3 Taylor Swift concerts were scheduled to take place in Vienna from Thursday to Saturday, with police expecting around 65,000 attendees each day. And still to come in DD India News Hour. Nepal forms investigation committee after second aviation crash within 15 days. Deadly tropical storm Debbie back over the Atlantic drenches East Coast. And amid spread of monkeypox, WHO called for an emergency meeting to discuss its spread as a public health emergency.
This summer, the world turns its eyes to Paris, and DD India brings you every heartbeat, every victory, and every story. Introducing our special coverage of the Paris Olympics. Experience the passion, the drama, and the triumphs. With exclusive reports, expert analysis, and up-to-the-minute updates. Join us as we bring the spirit of the Olympics to your screens.
Get ready for the ultimate sporting extravaganza on DD India.
DD India presents Champions Day Paris. Only on DD India. Every day at 6:30 p.m. IST, 1 p.m. GMT.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Pakshi Quran, and moving on, the United States is insisting that a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas is in its final stages, despite fears of a wider regional war following the assassination of a top Hamas leader in Iran. National Security spokesperson John Kirby said the U.S. was as close as it's ever been to ending the violence and releasing the hostages held by Hamas, even as Washington has moved planes and warships into the area to help defend Israel if necessary. DD India's Benji Hai reports for more from Washington.
The US's top diplomat Antony Blinken says the negotiations were at a decisive moment, and he urged everyone in the Middle East to understand the risk of miscalculation. He said Washington is engaging in intense diplomacy as it tries to prevent an escalation in the conflict after Iran threatened revenge for the killing of Hamas's political leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran. But Hamas's new leader is the alleged mastermind of the October 7th attack on Israel, Yahya Sinwar, which could make the delicate negotiations even harder. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken saying Sinwar remains the crucial decider on the ceasefire deal, which would lead to an initial 6-week truce. Earlier this week, the White House said negotiations had reached a final stage in a readout of calls between US President Joe Biden and the leaders of Qatar and Egypt, but the administration did not give more details. The US has told Iran and Israel directly that regional fighting must not escalate further. Meanwhile, the US military's strengthened its assets in the region in case of a possible Iranian retaliatory attack on Israel and says it's ready to deploy more forces in the Middle East if necessary. In Washington, Benji Hai reporting for DD India.
Well, an emergency meeting of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation was held on Wednesday at Iran's request to discuss the killing of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh and Iran's response. Iran and Hamas blame Israel for carrying out Haniyeh's assassination on July 31st. Iran's acting foreign minister Ali Bagheri Khani said that Iran's response to the killing of Haniyeh will take place at the right time and in the appropriate shape. Saudi Arabia has also criticized Israel by calling it a blatant violation of Iran's sovereignty. Gambia's foreign minister calls it an unlawful act by Israel.
This unlawful act not only undermines the prospects for a peaceful resolution, but also exacerbates the tensions within this region. The aggression and violation of the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the Islamic Republic of Iran by the assassination of a political leader on its soil is an act that cannot be viewed in isolation.
Well, Egypt instructed all of its airlines to avoid Iranian airspace for 3 hours on Thursday amid rising tensions between Israel and Iran. The instruction is already in place till 4 GMT. Egypt's Civil Aviation Ministry in a statement confirmed that the notice was intended to reduce flight safety risks in light of a notification it received from Iranian authorities that military exercises will be conducted on August 7th and 8th. Britain has also issued an advisory to its airlines to avoid Lebanon's airspace, while Singapore Airlines stopped flying through Iranian airspace since last Friday. Well, moving on, U.S. Democratic nominee Kamala Harris and her running mate Tim Walz have spent their first full day campaigning. The pair visited Michigan and Wisconsin, the same states as Republican Donald Trump's running mate J.D. Vance, as both campaigns try to sell their vision to voters. Nick Harper reports for more.
The Midwest was in focus on Wednesday, with dueling Democrat and Republican rallies taking place. Following Tuesday evening's event in Philadelphia, Kamala Harris was out on the campaign trail with her vice presidential pick, Tim Walz. They visited the city of Eau Claire in Wisconsin, followed by the suburbs of Detroit in the state of Michigan. The Democratic Party appears to have embraced Harris's pick of Walz, with fundraising soaring to around $20 million in the 24 hours since her announcement. Republican J.D. Vance visited the same places on Wednesday, just in reverse, Michigan first and then Wisconsin. Donald Trump was not on the campaign trail on Wednesday, but did phone in to Fox News, during which he described Harris as a nasty person and called Walz a communist. Immigration is in the spotlight for both campaigns. The Trump-Vance ticket is trying to portray the Biden administration as weak on immigration as a result of the millions of illegal immigrants who've entered the US in the last few years. Trump is pledging mass deportations if re-elected. Harris, though, is promising to bring back the border security bill that Donald Trump scrapped while president.
Now, more than 20 states in our country have a Trump abortion ban, many with no exceptions even for rape and incest. And if he wins, we all know he will sign a national abortion ban to outlaw abortion in every state, even in Wisconsin. But we are not going to let that happen because we trust women. And when I am President of the United States and when Congress passes a bill to restore the protections of Roe v. Wade, I will sign it into law.
Meanwhile, new polling shows Harris has received a boost in support from black voters across the country, while Trump has picked up more white voters. Tropical Storm Debbie has scuppered plans for both the Trump and Harris campaigns to hold events in North Carolina later on Thursday. Those have been cancelled due to extreme weather and torrential rain. In Washington, I'm Nick Harper, reporting for DD India.
And as Russia-Ukraine conflict continues, Ukraine has entered into Russia's southern border near a major natural gas transmission hub. In retaliation, Russia said on Wednesday that it was fighting intense battles against Ukrainian forces. It is one of the largest incursions into Russian territory since the conflict began. The acting governor of Kursk region, Alexei Smirnov, said he had introduced a state of emergency in the border region. Regional officials said that meant restricting access to specific areas. Russia's National Guard said it had beefed up security around the nearby Kursk nuclear power station and its 4 reactors. Meanwhile, the US said that they will contact Ukraine to understand its incursion into Russian territory, emphasizing that the US had no prior knowledge of the attacks.
We're going to reach out to the Ukrainian military to learn more about their objectives. As far as the specifics on that, I would refer you to the Ukrainians to speak about their own military operations. That's where I would refer you to. But we are, generally speaking, as you know, we have been supportive of Ukraine as they are defending themselves against Russia's aggression. We think that is obviously important to do as we talk about democracy and freedom, and so we're going to continue to do that.
And Argentine social organizations and left-wing groups marched through Buenos Aires, rallying against President Javier Milei's administration's austerity measures. Unemployment organizations and left-wing groups led a protest that began in a church in the west of the Argentine capital for improved wages and employment conditions. Demonstrators voiced their discontent over Milei's fiscal policies, which they claim have worsened the ongoing financial crisis. The rallies highlighted rising social unrest and the urgent call for government intervention to alleviate many Argentines' economic struggles. President Milei has introduced austerity measures in a bid to curb rampant inflation. These measures include significant cuts to state spending, reduction of subsidies, and downsizing of the public sector. And Kenyan President William Ruto has urged the youth in the country not to proceed with a planned protest on Thursday, one that is expected to be the biggest yet amid anti-government protest. The Thursday protest have been assembled by civil society groups, organizations and a coalition of youth groups. Organizers say it is a response to the high cost of living, severe unemployment and corruption. DD India's Daniel Kijo has more on this.
Kenyan President William Ruto has warned against a planned fresh round of protests, saying it is now time to build peace. Speaking to villagers in Iriari village in Embu County, the president said peace should prevail and called on Kenyans to reject these destructive demonstrations. This comes as civil society and Gen Z youth groups call for the mother of all protests on Thursday. Dubbed the 99 March, the move comes after President reappointed 10 of the 22 individuals he had fired during the dissolution of his previous cabinet. He has also nominated 4 politicians from the opposition into the cabinet. Kenyan youth are unhappy with the move and have mobilized others on social media to take to the streets despite the expectation of a large police and security force presence. The acting Inspector General of Kenya's police force has confirmed that the police force will be prepared to maintain peace across the country and will deal with any unlawful acts. Daniel Kijo in Dar es Salaam reporting for DD India.
Well, the Nepal government has formed a 3-membered committee to investigate the second aviation accident after a helicopter crashed into the hills of Nepal on Wednesday, killing all 5 on board. The committee was formed in an emergency cabinet meeting held on Wednesday, soon after the crash of the Air Dynasty helicopter. The committee will submit its report within 30 days. Wednesday's crash came less than a fortnight after the Soria Airlines crash claimed the lives of 18 people on board on July 24th within the premises of Tribhuvan International Airport in Kathmandu. And the World Health Organization on Wednesday called for an emergency meeting to assess the international risk from monkeypox outbreak in response to the spread of monkeypox beyond the Democratic Republic of the Congo and the risk of further international transmission within and outside Africa. WHO Director General Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus has decided to convene an emergency committee meet under the international health regulations. The committee will advise the WHO on whether the outbreak constitutes a public health emergency of international concern.
In light of the spread of mpox outside DRC and the potential for further international spread within and outside Africa, I have decided to convene an emergency committee under the international health regulations to advise me on whether the outbreak represents a public health emergency of international concern. The committee will meet as soon as possible and will be made up of independent experts from a range of relevant disciplines from around the world. WHO is working with the governments of the affected countries, the Africa CDC, NGOs, civil society, and other partners to understand and address the drivers of these outbreaks.
The current monkeypox outbreak in Congo has already seen around 27,000 cases and claimed more than 1,100 lives, most of them children, since the beginning of 2023. And tropical storm Debbie is back over the Atlantic, where it is regaining strength and lashing the coast of the southeast U.S. The storm is expected to make a second landfall on Thursday on the South Carolina coast. At least 6 people have died in Florida and Georgia following the storm, which hit Florida's Gulf Coast on Monday as a Category 1 storm. Governors in the Carolinas, Florida and Georgia have declared a state of emergency. The storm has caused widespread flooding, washing out streets and inundating homes across the region. For the next couple of days, the storm is forecast to dump prolific amounts of rain and bring life-threatening flooding along its path. Debbie has already turned roads into rivers and swamped homes. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world today. Russian Baltic fleet's Smolny warship Warship coming from Cuba anchored at the port of La Guaira in Venezuela. The ship's arrival is part of an initiative to bolster bilateral ties between Russia and Venezuela, encompassing sectors like energy, tourism, agriculture and economics. This marks a new visit to its strategic ally amid the political turmoil in Venezuela following the presidential elections last week. Introduction of driverless technology in China is posing threats to employment, from robotaxis undercutting taxi fares to a driving school replacing hundreds of human instructors. Robotaxis have taken over a large portion of short-distance trips in city areas, impacting drivers' incomes. As Marvel's latest film, Deadpool and Wolverine, has become one of the highest-grossing films of all time, now uncolored, penciled cover artwork featuring Deadpool's first appearance in the comics is up for sale at heritage auctions with a hefty $7.5 million price tag. If the auction succeeds, it will be the most valuable comic book art ever sold. And we'll be back in a short while. Time for a short break now.
The one common theme between all major cities across the world is hope and the promise of new opportunities and possibilities that gravitates people towards them.
The reason why we advocate green transformations is because you can retain the building and you can actually modify.
There's a lot that happens when you extract sand beyond sustainable limits. It's going to change your course of your river, it's going to widen the channel, it's going to damage, and we are paying a big price.
We have 2 water reservoirs on 84 acres of land. During periods when the river water is non-saline, we store water in these reservoirs. Throughout the year, we distribute this water to residents.
Tiny houses are in vogue. Less is more. Many also assume tiny homes are more eco-friendly.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Kuran, and time now for a quick recap of the headlines. Thousands of anti-racism protesters take to streets to counter far-right rallies in cities across the UK. Government 6,000 specialist police officers deployed to deal with further violence as over 100 events anticipated. In Bangladesh, the interim government headed by Mohammad Yunus to take oath today. India's border security force reviews security situation and operational preparedness along the Bangladesh border. American singer Taylor Swift's concert in Vienna cancelled due to terror alert. Austria says a tragedy was prevented. 2 people suspected of plotting attacks on concert detained. India's Vinesh announces retirement from wrestling a day after she was disqualified for being overweight at the Paris Olympics. And moving on, after concluding a successful visit to Fiji, President of India Draupadi Murmu arrived in Wellington, the capital city of New Zealand, on the second leg of a 3-nation visit. The visit aimed at boosting ties between the 2 nations. On her arrival, President Murmu was accorded a traditional welcome in line with Maori traditions at Wellington. She was invited for the Hongi tradition, which included clasping of hands. She also received the Royal Guard of Honour by a tri-service contingent of 100 New Zealand soldiers. President Murmu attended New Zealand International Education Conference in Wellington and presented with a memento that depicts the Maori art. Addressing the conference, President highlighted that India has made notable progress in the field of education, and exchanges with New Zealand will further boost ties between the 2 nations.
I am confident that the discussions and exchanges of this conference will pave the way for even stronger education ties. Heartfelt gratitude to Education New Zealand and to the Government of New Zealand for honouring India in such a special way. Let us continue to work together to build bridges of knowledge and understanding, and for creating world leaders through our educational collaboration.
President Murmu held a meeting with Governor-General Dame Sindukiro of New Zealand. Both leaders hailed the warm and friendly relationship between the two countries and discussed cooperation across various sectors. Later, President Murmu also met New Zealand's Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs, Winston Peters. And moving on, first BIMSTEC Business Summit concluded in New Delhi on Wednesday with a focus on regional cooperation in trade and investment, as well as energy and regional connectivity. BIMSTEC looks to overcome the hurdles of a free trade agreement, which needs to be sorted out even after 22 rounds of deliberations. More in this report.
The first edition of the BIMSTEC Business Summit over 2 days in New Delhi looked at multiple ways to foster greater regional cooperation among the member states. Robust trade and investment relations among the member countries of the Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation have immense potential, but the Free Trade Agreement or FTA needs immediate attention. India's Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal highlighted the need for India's role as the Vishwabandhu, more so for BIMSTEC.
Maybe we can begin with something small. Maybe we can begin with a preferential trade agreement, if not a full-blown FTA. But let's examine the realistic possibility and move forward on a fast-track basis.
India attaches great importance to the BIMSTEC, which links 5 countries from South Asia, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, India and Sri Lanka, and 2 from Southeast Asia, Myanmar and Thailand. The 2-day deliberation saw over 100 B2B meetings and brought together more than 300 key stakeholders.
The growing importance of digital payments, BIMSTEC member states should consider introduction of digital cross-border payment systems, trade settlements in local currencies and other elements of financial connectivity should also be pursued on a priority basis.
BIMSTEC grouping is home to over 22% of the world's population with a combined GDP of over $5 trillion. BIMSTEC is now the preferred platform for regional cooperation in South Asia. Anil Thomas, DD India, New Delhi.
Well, BIMSTEC grouping is home to over 22% of the world population with a combined GDP of $5 trillion. Did India caught with BIMSTEC Secretary General Indra Mani Pandey on 3 issues of FTA, Blue to Mountain economy and women empowerment. Indra Mani Pandey, Secretary General BIMSTEC, spoke this.
Member states are committed to resume the discussions and deliberations and negotiations, and once they engage more closely, the issues which are there can be easily addressed and we can reach conclusion of those negotiations. See, these 2 sectors have recently been identified as areas of cooperation. Rightly so, Bhutan has been given lead in mountain economy and Bangladesh has been given lead for blue economy. We have the expert groups constituted for both the sectors. Action plans are being prepared, which will provide us way forward for cooperation. I think I have seen among the member states keenness to focus on gender dimension of cooperation in all the areas, because women do play a very important role in all the areas, not only trade and investment, but tourism, cooperation in culture, cooperation in health sector. You look at any sector, women have an important role to play. So I would like to work with the member states to bring in gender dimension in all the areas of cooperation and enhance women's role in those areas.
Well, on some weather update now, the Indian Meteorological Department predicted the possibility of heavy showers in the states of Himachal Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram, Tripura, Assam and Meghalaya. The IMD predicted scattered to fairly widespread light to moderate rainfall over Kerala, Lakshadweep, Karnataka and isolated to scattered rainfall over Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh. The weather agency forecast heavy to very heavy rainfall in Assam and Meghalaya till August 12th and in Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram and Tripura till August 10th. Well, 8th August 2024 marks the 82nd anniversary of a pivotal movement in India's struggle for independence, the Quit India movement. Let's take a closer look at the historical significance of this movement, its impact and how it continues to inspire generations today. Here's a report by Kriti Vadhera.
On August 8, 1942, the Indian National Congress, under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi, launched the Quit India movement, also known as Bharat Chodo Andolan. The call for immediate independence from British rule resonated across the nation, with Gandhi's clarion call, "Do or die," sparking a wave of civil disobedience that spread like wildfire. The Quit India movement was a turning point in India's independence struggle. Unlike previous campaigns, this was a mass uprising that saw participation from all walks of life, from students, farmers, women and children. It demonstrated the Indian people's resolve to achieve freedom at any cost. Stories of the freedom struggle are included in school curriculum in India to help younger generation learn about the freedom for independence. Special braille books make it easier for visually impaired children to learn about freedom fighters.
The word Quit India in itself speaks volumes. People of India wanted freedom and Swaraj at no cost. Nobody bothered about losing their lives. The only thing that motivated them was, we will all join together and make our country free from the British yoke. Children of the age group of 8 and 20, they came out and they didn't care for their lives. What is important is how the common women came forward. Across our country, women who were in different age group, 15, 16, they all came out and they were part of the entire movement. The movement spearheaded not only in the urban areas, but even in the countryside.
Despite its non-violent roots, the movement was met with severe repression by the British authorities. Leaders like Gandhi, Nehru, Patel were arrested, and the British clamped down on press freedom. Yet the spirit of resistance could not be crushed.
The Quit India movement is a powerful reminder of how collective ideas can lead to success. Even today, it inspires us to stand up against injustice, violence, not just in India, but all around the world.
The Quit India movement was not just fight against colonial rule, it was a testament to the unbreakable spirit of Indian people. As we remember this day, it's important to reflect on the values of unity, resilience and the pursuit of freedom that defines this historic struggle. Kriti Vadhera's report for DD India.
And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. The Municipal Corporation of Delhi on Wednesday sealed the basement spaces of 10 coaching centers and libraries for violating building bylaws. The action comes days after the deaths of the 3 IAS aspirants who drowned after rainwater gushed inside the basement of a coaching center in Delhi's old Rajinder Nagar. The MCD also issued notices to coaching centers and property owners for misuse of property and violation by building bylaws across Delhi. In Jammu and Kashmir, preparations are in full swing for the Independence Day celebrations in North India's Anantnag district. Students at various schools are preparing to celebrate the 78th Independence Day to be held on 15th of August. Assam's Maga silk, with a history dating back around 5,000 years, is gaining recognition for its antiquity and exceptional quality. Mentioned in ancient epics like Ramayana and Mahabharata, Maga silk has been a prized possession of the people of Assam and India for centuries. Weavers in northeast India's Jorhat district skillfully weave this magnificent thread into exquisite Maga clothes. Maga silk was awarded the geographical indication of GI status in the year 2007. With just a few months left for Durga Puja festival in India, demands for the idols of goddesses increased many-fold. Artists in Kolkata's Kumar Tuli are busy giving final touch of the idols of goddess Durga and Kali as they are ready to be sent across India and abroad. And still to come on DD India News Hour. RBI to announce monetary policy on Thursday, rates unchanged for the last 18 months. Neeraj Chopra eyes the gold as he readies to compete in the men's javelin throw final. And serving as a backdrop to the cultural unity, London's Star Bridge became a site of celebration as Indian diaspora welcomed Ines Tubber to the city.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. Lipakshi Khurana, and time now for some business news. The Reserve Bank of India Governor Shaktikant Das is set to announce the monetary policy on Thursday. The RBI's Monetary Policy Committee, the rate-cutting panel, held its third bi-monthly policy meeting for financial year 2025 from August 6 to August 8. The RBI governor-headed six-member Monetary Policy Committee is widely expected to keep the benchmark repo rates unchanged at 6.5% and maintain the policy stance of withdrawal of accommodation. The central bank has kept the rates unchanged for the last 18 months. And for more, we have Shama Mishra joining us. Well, good morning, Shama. Amid global uncertainties, if we talk about, and the weather woes, will RBI opt for a status quo for the 9th time?
Well, it is likely, and because we are saying that there are geopolitical tensions. Also, the inflation is out of the comfortable range of Reserve Bank of India. Reserve Bank of India is likely to maintain status quo, and as you've already mentioned, that if it maintains status quo, it will be the 9th consecutive time. The last change it had made was in Feb 2023, and since then there has been no change, and 6.5 is the repo rate, which is kept at it. The bank rates are at 6.5. Also, the experts are believing that now the RBI can move towards the stance changing to neutral, which is currently at the withdrawal of accommodation. And if this happens, it's a clear indication that Reserve Bank of India in future would move towards cutting the rates, cutting the interest rate. And this will be a good news for the consumers, for the customers. Also, RBI has to maintain a balance between, not hurting the growth and also maintain the inflation. And given the fact that there have been flood situation, so many agricultural areas have been affected due to heavy rainfall, we will have to watch the situation, how it is going to pan out, because as I've already mentioned that the inflation rate is currently out of the comfortable range and it is above 5%. The comfortable range of Reserve Bank of India is 4%, plus or minus 2%, but it wants to keep it under 4%. But you see that this is above 5% and it has been above this comfortable range for quite some time, and the Reserve Bank of India would want this to come down, and that is why it is watchful of the entire situation. Also now, what we are watching is the geopolitical tensions are rising, and this would be having the ripple effect in Indian economy as well. So we would be, understanding some statement from the Reserve Bank of India Governor Shaktikant Das, and also some projections, or if any change in projections in the GDP data, in the GDP numbers, GDP projection for the coming year, and also for the inflation projection for the coming year. So these are a few of the things that have to be watched for. And as we've already mentioned that, it is likely that there'll be a status quo this time around also.
All right. Thank you so much, Shama, for all that update from there. And now all the updates from the Paris Olympics 2024. Well, India's ace wrestler Vinesh Fogart announced her retirement from the sports the day she was disqualified from the Paris Olympics. Fogart was on the cusp of a gold medal in the women's 50 kg freestyle wrestling event, but she was disqualified after exceeding her weight by 100 grams during the morning weigh-in on Wednesday. Vinesh even lodged a protest at Court of Arbitration for Sport challenging her disqualification. Vinesh, in a post on social media, said that wrestling won the final match against her. She lost, breaking all her courage. Having made a professional debut in 2001, the year 2024 was the last that saw her compete as a wrestler. And India's Narayan Singh answers FAQs on Vinesh Fogart's disqualification and the weigh-in process in wrestling. From the challenges of weight cuts to UWW rules in the two-day weigh-in system.
Indian wrestler Vinesh Fogart has been disqualified from the Paris Olympics wrestling events for being overweight in the women's 50 kg category on the morning of her gold medal bout. Here, let's take a look. The frequently asked question regarding a disqualification and the process of weighing. Let's get started with the first, what is a weight cut? In combat sport like wrestling, boxing, and athletes compete in specific weight categories to ensure fairness. A weight cut is a process where athletes rapidly lose weight to qualify for their respective categories. This prevents larger athletes from having an unfair advantage over the smaller ones. But here the question arises, why we can say that this cutting of the weight was difficult for her. We know that she has consistently found challenging to cut weight to 50 kg. She competes in the 53 kg category. We all know that earlier she switched to 50 kg category during the trials. Her natural weights were around 57, 58, making it difficult for any human being to, especially for the females, to cut the weight to such a marginal, we can say drastically. And that's why the problem created here to bring down weight at such a low level. But question arises, why was she disqualified despite making the weigh-in on the first day? First, go to the rules, UWW rules, which require wrestler to make weight on the all competitions day. Since Olympic wrestling events span 2 days, earlier this was not, but Vinesh needed to be at or under 50 kg on both days. Although she made weight on day 1, she failed to do that thing on day 2, leading to her disqualification. According to rules, failure to attend or pass the weigh-in on either day results in elimination and a last place ranking unless an injury on day 1 prevents the attendance on 2 days. That's what it is. But how can a wrestler weigh 2 kilos higher on day 2 after weighing 50 kg on day 1? Wrestlers often resort to extreme weight cutting measures in the days leading up to a competition. Especially these measures include severe restrictions or carb, water intake, and along with the intense exercise like the sweating and lose water weight. By day 2, the body naturally retains some lost weight. And in case of Vinesh, despite making 50 kg on day 1, she regained the lost weight throughout the day. Since then, she faced challenge of cutting again on day 2 by around 2 kg, ultimately missing by a few grams. So we can say that's the saga that nobody would have enjoyed, considering the fact that a medal was there in our hand. Hopefully you understood all the questions that you have inside your brain. Right now, we just sign off here. For more updates, just keep watching DD India.
All right, India's weightlifter Mirabai Chanu finished fourth in the women's 49 kg weightlifting event at the 2024 Paris Olympics on Wednesday and failed to secure for medal in India. Mirabai lifted a total of 199 kg. The Tokyo 2020 silver medalist opened her account in the snatch with a successful attempt of 85 kgs before taking 2 attempts to successfully lift 88 kgs. In clean and jerk, Mirabai cleared 111 kg in 2 attempts before failing to lift 114 kg in a third and final attempt. This is the 6th fourth place finish for India at the Paris Olympics. And in cricket, Sri Lanka thrashed India by 110 runs in the third ODI to secure a 2-0 win in the 3-match series. Earlier, the island nation had won the second ODI by 32 runs after the first match ended in a thrilling tie. Chasing 249, India once again began well but crumbled against Sri Lankan spinners. Danith Velalaj led the attack for the host and took 5 wickets to halt visitors' run chase. India were bowled out for 138. Earlier, Lanka notched up a competitive 248 for loss of 7 wickets as Aviation Fernando scored a composed 96 and Kusal Mendes contributed with 59. Well, the iconic Tower Bridge in London became a site of celebration as members of the Indian diaspora gathered to welcome Indian naval ship Tabar to the city. The picturesque event saw the historic bridge serve as a backdrop to the cultural unity and vibrant spirit of the Indian community in the UK. The INS Tabar's arrival under the Tower Bridge was met with enthusiastic cheers and a sense of pride among the attendees. INS Tabar, a Talwar-class frigate of Indian Navy, is visiting London from August 7th to 11th. The ship will be berthing alongside HMS Belfast. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.